Transition, the process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroad where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the now and future, shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, and we are not exempt from this remarkable ongoing reality.
Welcome to Transition Radio.
Hello and welcome to Real Talk with the Cummings. My name is Mark Angelo.
And I'm Lena Ariel.
We are the Cummings.
Yes,
Real
we
Talk
are.
with the Cummings. So guys, thank you so much for joining us today, or this early evening, I guess it is. It's, God, we've been going nonstop.
I know. Yesterday's show was very draining.
It was. It was awesome.
It was awesome. It was great. But it was also just, there was a
lot of energy. Yeah, a lot of energy.
Yeah. And it was just
like, but it's a good energy.
It was good.
It was good.
I mean,
very good.
Yeah. I think that show right there will go down in history, you know, with Derek as just like a foundational, you know, like, who is he? What is he about? Right. What's his heart like? You know, I mean, and
you know, there'll still be a couple of people that you can't change their mind because they're just hard-headed, you know, and that veil is so glued to their eyes they refuse to see. But I think that eventually everyone will understand that this dogmatic way of believing and living life doesn't help anyone. It actually just, it harms you. It harms your heart. It harms your spirit. It makes you feel horrible.
And, you know, like, for me, coming from a really fundamental Christian background, I lived in guilt. I lived in fear. I mean, I was scared as a little child of the rapture happening because my parents used to take me to go watch these, you know, end of days movies like A Thief in the Night. I don't know. Some people recall those movies where, you know, people like kids woke up and their parents weren't at home and they're like, "Mommy, where are you? Could you have gone in the rapture? Did I miss it?" You know,
my grandmother,
just that abject fear.
With the Armageddon and the Jehovah Witness thing, it was always like the zombies, because they believe that the dead will rise from the grave, literally. And she kept saying, "Your grandfather is going to come out of the grave." And I'm like, I had these visions of Grandpa being a zombie or something, you know. So it's pretty scary stuff. Anyway, we want to take this time to thank everybody on the chat room or in the chat room. I'm Cuban, so my grammar thing and words and
Kitten XT.
Yeah, she's been here
Tracy,
for a while. Tracy,
our mod, she's awesome. She said it. And Mysteries School. We have a prayer request from her that we're going to address later on in the show. Barbara Formosa, the Fifth World.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you for being here, you guys.
Yes, definitely. So we wanted to talk about some of the, well, you go ahead, because she was mostly more your friend and you guys kind of became a little more.
Yeah, well, I mean, a person that I met during the Discord chat the night that, you know, the WITD event was going on and they were scrambling and all that stuff, right? I met her and I, you know, we just started to connect, and then, you know, things just added up, and then next thing you know, we're thinking that there's something going on with Derek and all that, and we went off the deep end. But she stays off the deep end now. You know,
and it's very angry at us, and it's like, does not understand why we're still not holding the rifle and shooting people and being cruel and evil and everything else. And it's like, just chill out, you know?
Yeah, there's just a lot of things going on in other channels that are basically just bad mouthing us and bad-mouthing Global Witness and everything. And
Yeah.
you know, it's really unfortunate because every time I go in there and I mention, you guys are gossiping. I mean, literally,
Yep.
you're gossiping. You know, I don't know if you think that's wrong or you don't, but they seem to think that it's okay to talk bad about people. You
Hey,
know?
Fifth World, thank you for joining us. Much heart and love to you, sis.
Yeah, it's just really, you know, it's odd that they would be thinking that they're doing the work of God, and then they're doing it in a way where they're cutting people down. And
you know, very famous saying, you will know them by the fruit. If the fruit is bitter and angry and hostile and war-driven, then it's not a good fruit, you know? And you can't, you know, how can that be of God? And I know people have been brainwashed to believe that God is this like really angry, schizophrenic type of deity.
Mm-hmm.
And that is little g who's that way because, you know, he's upset. He's upset that he's not the prime creator. But source, the great I am, the universe, is not that way at all.
No, our true Father is love, you know, and then we're being told, oh, you guys just wanted the attention. Did you guys plan this out beforehand? I mean, it's like people, if anybody's ever watched our channel, all we've ever been is sincere. We have been sincerely wrong at times.
Yeah, and you can admit it.
And we're so willing to admit it, you know, but I mean, just to think that we would have like pre-thought this out. I mean, we would be geniuses or something.
I know.
I don't know.
The Fifth World says, I'm glad that we all got to work through this together. And I think it took courage on both your parts. I know that it helped me grow. Definitely. We all grow from it because it's like, what are we here to learn to do? To coexist, to love one another. If we continue to fight, I mean, gosh, how many years have we been at war? From, you know, it's crazy. And what are most wars started from?
Religion. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, isn't it time to put the rifles down and pick up the daisies and love and hug each other?
I know.
And realize that we're more alike than we are different.
I mean, it's like, you know, Gordon McCorder loves to do that whole love bomb thing.
And that's awesome.
Know? And we just thought that was like,
yeah. Oh my God, that must be some sort of curse.
It must be like a hate bomb. You know,
it's crazy, but that's how the mind thinks, you know.
You know, it was so irresponsible of us to think that of people. You know, the Bible says not to be of malignant thought, and that's like not to have malignity in you, and that means like thinking the worst of somebody. So this person that keeps on coming onto our channel and saying things, I just go, you know what? I love you, and it doesn't matter what you might say to me or us.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've been told, oh, you went to Bible college, but you don't know anything. I was a, you know, Messianic Christian, this, that, the other. I'm like, I don't know what you were or weren't or all your qualifications and stuff. But if you have not love, then you're just a clanging cymbal.
Yeah, that's it.
You know,
that's pretty much it. And that's what I notice about religion. It's very dogmatic, very law-based, but they forget about the love. You know, it's like I remember watching the movie Zeitgeist. How many of you have watched that film? That was the documentary that woke me up. And there was a part there where George, what's his name, the comedian guy who died of a heart attack.
Carlin.
Yes. He goes, well, God has all these rules and this, that, and the other, and he throws down the 10 Commandments, and he's angry, but he loves you. You know, it's like, you know, it's like we need to like put away the old. You know, there are certain things that, yes, we need to keep in our heart. And yes, we do need to keep some guides. I'd hate to use the word law, some guides, because, you know, it's good to have some guides. But when we live our lives based on rules and regulations all the time, we forget to love. We become robots.
And you know what? If we honestly have
Hello, Mickey Morris.
Mickey's going to be
on tomorrow. Yes,
she's going to be sharing her life.
Yes.
It's going to be so cool.
Very exciting. And there's a lot in common that Mickey and I have. Aspie, you know, and, you know, she wanted to share some gender things with us on the show. And I think that's going to be exciting. It's always good because I think it's that awakening. It's like what Derek said yesterday, this compression of souls and spirits that are coming in And I mean, it's even hard to put into words.
She's excited.
Yes, yes. But yeah, it's this, we've been living under a rock for way too long, under fear. It's like, you know, when we were in caves a long time ago and we were afraid of the shadow and we wouldn't go outside because we continue to live that way. It's all based on fear, you know, and then that fear would create anger, hatred, frustration, greed. We need to, like, fear and love can't be in the same place.
We were recently told, and then it's reminded to us when we do, like, try to walk back towards traditional Christianity. It's like, you know, I know what you guys are thinking and stuff, and maybe you're wrestling these concepts, but I just want to put it out there. What if you're wrong? What if you make this mistake and you end up in hell? And it's like, you know, it's like this fear mongering.
But that's all religion.
You know, dangling your person over like these flames of fire.
Yeah. How can they control you?
Derek said that whatever hell is, or whatever you know, eternal damnation is, it is not going to be just a fire. It's going to be much worse than anybody would have ever thought of. Right. You know, in regards to, you know, a physical death is not what this life is about. We're spiritual beings.
Exactly.
So whatever is going to happen to us has nothing to do with physicality.
None whatsoever.
You
know? And Lindsay says fear and guilt matrix. Yep. And Barbara Formosa says all from programming.
It is. It's like we've been programmed. And you know, what if you're wrong, traditional Christian? What if you are wrong? You know, all I can say is that we offer you love. And if you want to call it emoji love, if you want to call it, you know, like fake love or whatever, we honestly care. We honestly have compassion from our hearts. We honestly love you.
Yeah.
You know, and there are so many people that feel the same way.
Well, love is the most beautiful thing. You know, Sherry says she can't stay long, but you wanted to stop by, and I wanted to she said, hate, anger, gossip, nasty, personal remarks about people's lives' appearance is never the love or source. And it's not. And that's how you know. That's how you know if you're in the right frequency. If you're in the frequency of love, peace, light, or you're in the frequency of hate, you know, guilt, fear, you feel it. You know what is godly and what is non-godly.
Yeah.
You know, and I think religion has used these tools to keep people suppressed, repressed, in fear, you know, not wanting to learn anything, just like staying in the same path, because God forbid you were to ascend. God forbid you were to like break free from the chains, you know, that they put you in.
I mean, I heard one pastor when we were listening to some messages a couple weeks ago saying, you're going to be chained to someone. So you might as well be chained to God.
And why do we need to be chained? You know,
why do we have to be a slave?
You know,
why can't we?
That's
just
what little G made us for. We were made to be slaves. I mean, that's why I created my album back in 2010, Enslaved, because, you know, yeah, you're free to pay your taxes and told what to do. You know, it's like, it's hard to put in words, but once your veil gets removed, it's like it's like you look at the world like that movie. What was that movie called when they had those glasses? They live. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have watched that.
Totally recommend you guys.
Oh my God. It's when I was
a little dated, but yeah, it's good.
When I was in my awakening, I was just watching documentary after documentary. Like I said, the first one was Side Guys. Then I watched They Live. And it's like you put on these glasses and you can literally see the hidden message in everything, in the reptilian race that's governing our world.
Yeah.
You know?
Illusion of freedom.
Yes, exactly. That's what it's all about. You know, yesterday, David Mott joined the chat, and there was this talk amongst the ones that they're thinking that they are holding the flag for God. They're saying, was it Eden that said that David Mott was just doing what he was doing to try to gather people on their side.
So that there wasn't sincerity in what he said. But, you know, honestly, if there's that tactic going on, I mean,
what are they, 5?
No, but I mean, that's not Christ-like.
No, but it's like what the behavior that I'm seeing is very childish. You know, it's like, my God's better than your God. You know, it's like, why? Let's like, okay, let's try to like agree.
Do that again.
No.
And then we got a nickname for this channel now. It's called Viper Chat.
Yeah, Viper Chat. It's like, oh my
all
God.
the things that were going on.
All the love
and respectful, I mean, appreciation.
And they call it Viper.
Another, they call it Viper Chat, as in serpent.
Yes, it was
chat.
just sad. I mean, yesterday, I felt such joy.
I did too.
Watching Derek. I mean, he was like a little kid.
He was.
And not always, I've never had any children, so I love to see the child in people, you know, that joyous feeling, you know, when a kid gets a toy and they're happy and you could see it in their eyes and in their smile. There's just this innocent. And I saw that.
It was just a playful, happy.
I mean, I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad that, you know, I suggested that we share his song, because it's like, he was glowing. And I'm sure all you agree that he was totally glowing.
Yeah, it was so cool to watch.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about the Gnostic worldview. You know, and a lot of people, when they hear the word Gnostic, they go, oh, bad devil.
Oh, cult. Oh my God.
You know, and I truly,
I
truly believe that the initial true Christians were Gnostic Christians. They're the ones who were following Christ. You know, and I did a lot of research back in the day when I did my awakening. And I was like, whoa, this stuff sounds really, really appealing compared to the Jehovah's Witness doctrine that I was taught. Do not celebrate birthdays. Do not celebrate. And I understand a lot of that stuff. You know, like they wouldn't celebrate birthdays because it said that John the Baptist's head was offered to, I don't know, some king on his birthday. But so, yeah.
From the JWs.
Yeah, very, very strict stuff. But, you know, I didn't want to live in that. You know, I wanted like, the God that I knew in my heart, because I was always very spiritual, even as a kid, was a loving God, not some, you know, really schizo angry deity that religions tend to hold on to. So there's Gnosticism. What is it? Gnosticism. Gnosticism. Gnosticismo. In español. Okay. All right. So based on gnosis, the knowledge of transcendence arrived by the way of interior intuitive means. Although Gnosticism thus rests on personal religious experience, it's a mistake to assume all such experience result in Gnostic recognition.
It is nearer the truth to say that Gnosticism expresses a specific religious experience, an experience that does not lend itself to the language of theology or philosophy, but which is instead closely affinitized to and expresses itself through the medium of myth.
Indeed, one finds that most Gnostic scriptures take the form of myth or myth. The term myth, quote unquote, should not here be taken to mean stories that are not true. Kind of like when they say conspiracy. People hear that word and they think, oh, it's a lie. No, conspiracies are true. But rather than the truths embodied in these myths are of a different order from the dogmas of theology or the statement of philosophy.
In the following...
Hello, Lori. I'm sorry.
And Titi.
And Titi. Thank you for joining. Y perseveras.
And Lori.
Lori.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So good to have everybody. In the following summary, we will attempt to encapsulate in prose what the agnostic myths express in their distinctly poetic and imaginative language.
So the cosmos. I've always been intrigued as a little kid.
Looking up.
It's like E.T. go home, like, this is not my original planet. I'm from somewhere out there.
We are aliens.
Yes, we are. All religious tradition acknowledge the world is imperfect. Where they differ is in the explanation which they offer to account for this imperfection and in what they suggest might be done about it. Gnostics have their own, perhaps quite startling, view of these matters. They hold that the world is flawed because it was created in a flawed manner. And that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Like Buddhism, Gnosticism begins with fundamental recognition that earthly life is filled with suffering. In order to nourish themselves, all forms of life consume each other, thereby visiting pain, fear, and death upon one another. Even herbivorous animals live by destroying the life of plants. In addition, so-called natural catastrophes like earthquakes and floods, fires, drought, volcanic eruptions, they bring further suffering and death in their wake.
You know, you hear that, and it's like one of the things, because I also study Buddhism a lot, and I, really relate to that. Suffering comes from desire. When you desire something, when you want something, you're constantly searching for that. You suffer because most of the time you don't get to have that.
Yeah.
We see the world that it's almost like renovating itself constantly with earthquakes and floods and fires and drought. And we think of that, oh, that's bad. But is it really? It's just a rebirth. It's like that constant movement and change as we in our bodies and ourselves do the same thing.
A perfect example when we went to Mount St. Helens last year on our journey. And, everybody who was alive back then remembers the Mount St. Helens eruption. And here we are, like years later, decades later. And that eruption has turned into making that area the most biodiverse area in the world. And people are coming from all around the world to study all the different wildlife and new life species and animals and stuff. And it's just a beautiful thing. I mean, the volcano was looked at initially as destruction, but actually that destruction created so much more life.
Exactly. And then that's what it's all about. Like in your body, you study medicine, you study the human biology, there are cells constantly being changed, mitosis, things are constantly happening to change yourself. We end up hurting ourselves when we're not eating the right stuff. So the cells stop reproducing, and there's cancer and things of that nature. Also, how you feel inside, how if you're a person that's always angry, depressed, anxious, your cells feel that. So
and it creates disorder.
Disease. That's part of disease, not being in balance. So it's important to laugh, smile, be happy, give yourself positive reinforcement all the time. Speak to your cells, speak to your heart, speak to every organ in your body. Give it grace, give it love, and you'll see how healthy you can become.
Not to make videos of people accusing them of being the Antichrist.
Yes, and we were very much to blame.
Here's a headline. The Antichrist already came.
Yep.
It was already fulfilled. This world system that we live in is part of that Antichrist system. The religion that, is so dominant in the last, 2,000 years. That is from, the Antichrist. It's the Church of Rome.
And so what's going to be happening now, in my opinion, the age of Aquarius, it's great things. There's still a little rumbling to take place, but my gosh, we are living in the most exciting time ever.
Of the Dark Ages, people. The Dark Ages are behind us.
Yes.
Now we have the bright ages to come, right?
Yes. We're gonna get to play like children, and really like all the stuff that we've had to live with, it's all gonna fade away. Many religions advocate that humans are to be blamed for the imperfections of the world. Supporting this view, they interpret the Genesis myth as declaring that transgressions committed by the first human pair brought about a fall, quote unquote, of creation, resulting in the present corrupt state of the world.
Gnostics respond that this interpretation of the myth is false. The blame for the world's failings lies not with humans, but with the Creator, since especially in monotheistic religions, the Creator is God. The Gnostic position appears blasphemous and is often viewed with dismay, even by the non-believers.
And basically what I'm getting from that is the little g is the one responsible for everything, right? And it's like they try to blame it first on Eve, and it's like, I always have to blame the women. But in reality, it was trickery. It was a setup by little g. Ways of invading the recognition of that flawed creation and its flawed creator have been devised over and over, but none of these arguments have impressed Gnostics. The ancient Greeks, especially the Platonists, advised people to look to the harmony of the universe so that by venerating its grandeur, they might forget their immediate afflictions.
But since this harmony still contains the cruel flaws, forlornness, and alienation of existence, this advice is considered of little value by Gnostics. Nor is the Eastern idea of karma regarded by Gnostics as an adequate explanation of creation's imperfection and suffering. Karma, at best, can only explain how the chain of suffering and imperfection works. It does not inform us in the first place why such a sorrowful and malign system should even exist.
Exactly. Once the initial shock of the unusual or blasphemous nature of the Gnostic explanation for suffering and imperfection of the world wears off, one may begin to recognize that it is, in fact, the most sensible of all explanations. To appreciate it fully, however, a familiarity with the Gnostic conception of the Godhead is required, both in its original essence as the true God and in its debased manifestation as the false or creator God. Notice that there is a difference, and that is where Christian belief fails to see that. They want to lump all the gods together.
I mean, everything is embraced with regards to the physicality of it all.
Right.
I mean, okay, they talk about Jesus being born a baby, you know, a physical baby being born.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, the physical man, living, doing his thing, ministering, and then dying, and then now this supposed second coming
Mm-hmm.
of a physical Christ who's, you know, going to split the eastern sky and all, you know, I mean, it's going to touch the Mount of Olives, and I mean, CNN's going to be there and everybody's going to see it. I don't know. But this is the error that people make, is that they think that this is all physical, when Jesus himself said that my kingdom is not of this world. So he gave you a clue as to what it is, and it isn't physical, people.
Well,
it's not physical.
You know, back in the day, people were not well read. You know, they required the priest to read things for them. They weren't very, I hate to use the word bright, but they weren't very understanding. They were like babies. As time has progressed, we have evolved in spirit and in understanding of knowledge. So we are very much ready for all this Gnostic teachings, for all this unknown teachings that back then we didn't understand. So they had to make everything very black and white.
Well, people were put, you know, to death for
believing things that,
believing
exactly.
things.
So as you were saying, you know, everything, this whole meat suit,
the physical
has
part.
nothing to do with the spiritual awakening that's taking place, with this Christ consciousness. And I can't reiterate this enough, that it is a consciousness, not some heavenly Jesus that's coming down with a horse or whatever. It is a consciousness. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We, us, the groups of individuals that are going to actually change this world. Heaven on earth is what's going to be happening, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, the whole concept of one physical man embodying everything, I mean, doesn't that just limit God? I mean,
I would think so. What do you guys think?
All-knowing and omnipotent, all-loving creator of all things is? I mean, it's like one man, a Jewish carpenter who lived and died. I mean, and then it's you know, it's like, it's not about that, you know, it's really not. So the Gnostic God concept is more subtle than that of most religions. In its way, it unites and reconciles the recognitions of monotheism and polytheism, as well as theism, deism, and pantheism.
In the Gnostic view, there is a true ultimate transcendent God who is beyond all created universes and who's never created anything in the sense in which the word create is ordinarily understood.
Well, this true God did not fashion or create anything. He or it emanated or brought forth from within himself the substance of all there is in all the worlds visible and invisible.
In a certain sense, it may therefore be true to say that all is God, for all consists of the substance of God. By the same token, it must also be recognized that many portions of the original divine essence have been projected so far from their source that they underwent unwholesome changes in the process. That makes a lot of sense right there.
Something happened to retard the growth, to pervert what was originally there.
Right, and I think it's the little g's, because I think there are many little g's. I mean, look at back in the day, the Hebrews had many gods that they worship, you know?
I mean, contrary to popular belief, you know, the Jewish people, the Israelites, the ones that were wiped out, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom both, they worshipped other gods.
Yes.
They were a polytheistic society. And it was only up until they were taken, like in the Babylonian captivity that a remnant came back that believed in this Jehovah, you know.
Yes.
But before that, they were sacrificing to Asher.
Oh,
They
yeah.
were sacrificing to Baal. They had their high places where they would offer. I mean, this was not a society that was based on the one God.
Yeah, and Fifth World says, I keep wanting to say Fifth Element. That's a movie, right? Fifth World. As above, so below. We are the micro to the macros. Exactly. Krista DNA, CT Taylor. After this, love you all. All right. Love you too. Okay, so to worship cosmos.
To worship.
Okay.
The cosmos.
To worship the cosmos or nature of embodied creation or creatures, it thus tantamount to worshiping alienated and corrupt portions of the emanated divine essence.
The basic Gnostic myth has many variations, but all of these refer to eons, the intermediate deific beings who exist between ultimate true God and ourselves. They, together with the true God, comprise the realm of fullness, pleroma, wherein the potency of divinity operates fully. But fullness stands in contrast to our existential state, which in comparison may be called emptiness. Yes. And one of the things I was going to say was, you know, this flesh body that Derek talks about, that Jeff talks about, and in its essence is an entrapment.
It is.
For our spirit self to be grounded and not be allowed to develop and grow.
Well,
you know?
We were created as slaves, so why would they want us to evolve and grow? That's why when we started getting too smart for our bridges and we trying to build the Tower of Babylon or whatever it's called to Babel to go up, you know, to the sky is to meet up with God and go, hey, wait a minute, maybe we were like tired. But what did they do? Let us come down and confuse their language. What loving God, you know, would want that?
Would want to confuse the language of those that he created.
And I think it's deeper than language. I think it's let us confuse their DNA.
Well, sure.
Let us, you know, confuse so they cannot communicate with one another, so they could fight against each other. Because we keep them fighting, they won't continue to search for us.
Maybe it's let's shut down their pineal gland.
That too.
You know, let's shut down their connection with the spiritual essence of who they are.
Yes.
You know. Yes. Hi, Damien.
Yes. You know, it's crazy stuff.
So one of the aeonial beings who bears the name Sophia, wisdom, is of great importance to the Gnostic worldview. In the course of her journeying, Sophia came to emanate from her own being a flawed consciousness, a being who became the creator of the material and psychic cosmos, all of which he created in the image of his own flaw.
This being, unaware of his origins, imagined himself to be ultimate and absolute God. Since he took the already existing divine essence and fashioned it into various forms, he is also called the demiurgos or half-maker, quote unquote. There is an authentic half, a true deficit or deific component within creation, but it's not recognized by the half-maker and by his cosmic minions, the archons or rulers.
Right.
And those are the ones that are running the world. You know, let us do this. Let us, you know, the archons.
Yeah.
You know, whether you want to call them Anunnakis, whether you want to call them Elohims, whether you want to call it, you know. And I believe that there are maybe some good archons and some bad ones, you know, or maybe more bad than good. But these are advanced creations that have taken upon themselves.
There are so many areas that we can expound on, we can think about, and we can just like throw out there, because we live in a world where we're free to think, you know, and telling someone just because they're thinking and wondering about these issues that, you know, that people in the church are like, oh no, you can't say anything if it's not in the Bible, then it's not true. And if you add to the Bible, if you take away from the Bible, then, and it's like, what the Bible wasn't even put together when they said that.
Right.
So how can you be adding or taking away from writings that weren't even put together in a book? You know,
I wanted to add that it is a frequency, a religious frequency, that gets you to see things that way. Really, it's like when you're in that religiosity mode, everything becomes a devil under every rock. Everything becomes bad. You can't question. You can't answer. You must obey the laws. You become very Aspergery about it. You know, human beings do. It's like, this is the only way. This is the way to the Lord. This is the only way. And it's like, no, it is not. Remove thy veil, you know, and listen to thy heart that's connecting directly to source. You know, that book is great and dandy. There's a lot of really good information in there, history book, but there's also other books that are awesome. You know, there's also the connection that you have directly with source. Yeah. I mean, what better information than when you're meditating on a question, on a feeling or something, that you get that direct connection. It's like, plug on in and let it flow.
It's like in Avatar where they jumped on the back of the animal
and they took their hair and they connected. Exactly. I love that movie. Phoenix, hello, Phoenix. Proverbs, wisdom is female. Have you found wisdom? Have you found her?
Yeah, wisdom is from the is female.
Yeah,
you know, that feminine essence.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they call it women's
women's intuition.
You know,
very much in tune with that.
Moms have eyes in the back of their head. They
exactly.
Dads do.
Yeah.
You know,
confused. TT says confuse everything between them. That God is not the loving Father. And Lori says, yes, Mark, and we humans have had enough of the oppression. Exactly. Rise up. Time to say enough of this baloney.
So the human nature mirrors the duality found in the world. In part, it was made by the false creator God, and in part, it consists of the light of the true God. Humankind contains a perishable, physical, and psychic component, as well as a spiritual component, which is a fragment of the divine essence itself.
This latter part is often symbolically referred to as the divine spark. The recognition of this dual nature of the world and of the human being has earned the Gnostic tradition the epithet of dualists.
Humans are generally ignorant of the divine spark resident within them.
And a lot of them
done on purpose.
Yeah, and a lot of them's like, oh no, you can't have no divine.
We were starting to think that.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, well, yeah.
This ignorance is fostered in human nature by the influence of the false creator and his archons, who together are intent upon keeping men and women ignorant of their true nature and destiny.
Because it behooves them. Because if we become smart and, you know, saying, we ain't working for you anymore. Yeah. We ain't going to be your slaves anymore. We know what's up. We know that we are as divine as you. And we know who our true creator is. Not some little g and not some reptilian lord, you know, as Jeff likes to call him, the rat bastard.
Yeah.
You know. So anything that causes us to remain attached to earthly things serves to keep us in an enslavement, to these lower cosmic rulers. Death releases the divine spark from his lowly prison, but if there has not been a substantial work of gnosis undertaken by the soul prior to death, it becomes likely that the divine spark will be hurled back into and then re-embodied within the pangs and slavery of the physical world.
Go ahead. I remember when Jeff Doherty said that the name Eden, you know, means a place where you're in a garden. So not a garden, but a guard, like G-U-A-R-D, in. So it was like a prison that they were placed in to work and to be slaves for this God, you know, and it wasn't like some paradise, you know, wonderland, you know, it was a garden.
It's done on purpose because again, we were created for that purpose, to be slaves. They don't want us to realize our divinity, because as soon as we realize our divinity, we break free from the prison. You know, there's something that's taking place right now. Like I mentioned earlier, we are living in super exciting times. We are about to break free from this jail. Ban on the run. You know, it's time to, and so they're trying to it's like their last effort to keep us in here. But this time we have, thanks to the internet, you know, I think there's a lot of people reconnecting. I think a lot of people are waking up, removing that veil. and freedom. I mean, it's like you could taste it.
I mean,
you know?
I believe that.
Yes.
I believe that.
Phoenix, okay, go read for our prophets.
Yes, we know. We agree
Right.
with you. We're not
Yes.
saying no. We said yes.
Yes.
Wisdom is
One of the
a woman.
biggest problems we have in the world that has been a very masculine dominated world. And what's happening right now is the feminine is coming back, and that wisdom of that feminine is what's actually going to help us free ourselves, because the war-driven world hasn't worked. It's like vicious cycle. You know, they keep us coming back, like in that reincarnation, coming back, go to the light, you get to the light, get sucked back in here, and out mother's womb, you know, this is like and they want it to be that way. But I think that we are definitely seeing a change, you know, in people's awareness and their awakening and in their hearts. But there's going to be people who are going to fight, you know.
Not all humans are spiritual pneumatics and thus ready for gnosis and liberation. Some are earthbound and materialistic beings, hyaletics, who recognize only the physical reality. And that is what Christianity preaches, is a message to recognize that physical reality, because everything is about, you know, about like living in this world and having these challenges and struggles and living and dying and, you know, pain and suffering and, you know, all these things that happen to us on the soul level, which have nothing to do with our spirit.
Exactly.
They have no, I mean, it's like they have no part to play in the spiritual realm. You know, it's only a physical thing. Others live largely.
Okay, go ahead.
Others live largely in their psychics. Such people usually mistake the demiurge for the true God and have little or no awareness of the spiritual world beyond matter and mind.
I mean, the majority of people, if they can't see it, if they can't feel it, if they can't taste it, they don't want to believe in it. You know, it doesn't exist. And they don't realize that this third dimension is so minute.
Yes.
You know, that's why when people go on an ayahuasca trip or a mushroom trip, you know, that they it's almost like that allows you to break that seal that keeps you in just this tunnel vision. When you release that seal and you open up that third eye, which a lot of Christians call, that's demonization, don't do that, blah, blah. But it's like, yeah, they don't want you to do that. They don't want you to get.
Because that blows everything apart.
Yeah, that takes away their business. It's bad for business, you know? So in the course of history, humans progressed from materialistic slavery by the way of ethical religiosity to spiritual freedom and liberating gnosis. As the scholar G. Gwispold wrote, the world spirit is quite exile. The world spirit in exile must go through the inferno of matter and the purgatory of morals to arrive at the spiritual paradise. This kind of evolution of consciousness was envisioned by the Gnostic long before the concept of evolution was known.
You know, the whole concept of hell and eternal damnation is something that I have always struggled with as a person that was taught that, you know, that if you do things that reject Christ and then you die in your sin, you go to hell, right?
Right.
So Jacob Israel explained it a few, like 3 or 5 months ago, and he talked about hell. Everybody goes to hell. Everybody has a hell-ish experience, and it is a place of testing, a place to ponder, you know, what you can do to make yourself better. And it's a refining process. It's like you talk about a fire. What does a fire do? A fire cleans out the impurities. It refines you. It purifies you.
Exactly.
So hell is not bad. It's a place of purging.
Yeah.
It's a place to drop off that baggage, drop off the junk that you've collected, go through it, and become a new person.
Yeah, it cleans you out.
Know?
It's like when doctors operate on autoclave, you have to put all the tools in this autoclave that's very high heat to sterilize everything so you can kill all the bacteria. It's pretty much the same thing.
I mean, the whole process of a diamond, even becoming a diamond, is like through lots of pressure, through lots of heat, you know, lots of, you know, it's painful.
Yes. So John says, when man comprehends what women are capable of, they will be humbled, a good thing. Definitely. But, you know, I think that every human being has a male and a female side to them. You know, if you listen to Genesis, God created man and woman, he created them. You know, I think that that's why men have nipples, okay? And if you look at man's testicles, there's a line, right, that brings those sacs together. That originally would have been the labia majora, okay? So there's the default in a fetus originally is just the default. It could be male or female. It has the same components depending on the SRY gene, and the hormone that's actually going to bathe that child or that fetus will depend if it becomes a girl or a boy. So I believe that we originally, that's why I said the two will return to one in our intro, because I believe that we were once both male and female, and then little g split us apart.
And by doing that, limited
the
human experience.
Because we need both to be whole. So if you separate us, you know, we're just bickering, like men and women bicker all the time. But when we're one and we realize that we're no different, we're the same. The only difference is our genitals, and now those are there to make babies, you know. But let's see what else. I believe
that all souls are ever created are present in this time.
Yes.
We are all here, folks, for a reason. Trade that cloak for a sword. Truth. That's very good wisdom, Betty.
Yes.
That is so true. I mean, when Derek said that, it totally resonated with me. It's like, here we have this planet. There's like 7.5 billion people here now. Back in like 1900, there were like 1 billion, you know? So it's almost like all of the souls that have ever existed in the span of time are here now, incarnated into living people, you know, living beings that are now on this earth. And we're now, you know, able to then move forward together as one.
Exactly.
You know. So yeah, Phoenix, that makes a lot of sense.
Phoenix says, yes, like our God, our pipe, here God is female. So again, religion confuses me. That's why I'm here. Yeah, well, religion is very confusing. I think religion was meant to be confusing, because how many years have we been on this planet as a species, you know, and we still don't get it. Why? Because religion is very confusing. So I think we have to pass religion, go past that all completely, and be more spiritual, and try to look in different places for our answers. And, you know, there's this saying, they said, if you hide the knowledge and the truth inside of them, they will never find it, because we're always looking outside. Oh, it must be in this Bible. Oh, it must be in the rocks. Oh, it must be in the mountains. Oh, it's probably in the ocean. No, the answers are within you.
Yeah,
you know, that's pretty much, you know, where things
You're very welcome, Bone Dangles. We had our run-ins with you, but you know, we don't hold grudges.
No.
I mean, we love. That's what we do. If anything, that has been taught to us in this whole thing, and with all the things that we're dealing with now, with people just throwing mud at us. You know, we just love. That's it.
Tracy says, absolutely. That's what I learned in biology. We're basically
We're basically
both. Yeah, I mean, it's in the, you know, I always tell men, so what do you think you have nipples for? Did God have some sort of great plan for you to have nipples? No, because if you would have had, you know, estrogen released into your system in an XX, then those nipples, you see little girls, they don't have breasts right away. They develop into breasts later on. And the same thing with the sac. You know, why do you think you have that line in there? Because originally it could have been a labia majora, you know? So, I mean,
so we're not that different.
No,
I mean,
we're
this
not.
whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus thing, that's just a way to divide. And that's the system that we live in. It's dual, it's duality.
It's stereotypical.
It's good and bad. It's white, black, it's racial, it's
everything do that why?
To divide.
So they could conquer. If we realize that we're more the same than we are different, and we united as a human family, and we said, enough of this BS. We're not going to work for the big guy anymore. We're just going to barter between one another. We're not going to pay taxes. We're not going to do this and the other. And people just rised up. They'd be in trouble. That's what they're trying to invent, all sorts of these weaponry so that when people finally, because there's going to be in the very near future a massive awakening where people are just going to go,
oh my gosh,
whoa, what? There's a scene in one of the last Zeitgeist series that people are just like in New York and they're getting ready to go to work with their little briefcase, and all of a sudden they drop the briefcases and they look up and they're like, they woke up. They're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And that's going to happen in mass production. We're all going to wake up and we're all going to go, enough. What are we doing? Why are we arguing with one another?
Yeah.
Why are we working for the big man? You know, it's going to happen.
And the crazy thing is that you can see this in small doses. Like, I used to work in television and used to do lots of sports television. And you could see, literally feel like in your spirit, you know, in your invisibly, the whole power of like momentum, and how momentum, when people gather together and they believe in one thing, you know, the home team is pushing for that team to just do whatever it needs to do to win. It's like they just like things happen, you know. And it's like, if we would realize that as a human family, we have the power to change this world in a massive way.
I mean,
you know,
who's keeping people hungry? Who's keeping people poor? Who's doing the elite? Because as long as they're rich, there has to be poor. So, I mean, a lot of people say, well, that's communism or that's socialism. But it's like, why do we have to label something that's good for the all of everybody as bad? You know, it's crazy, really. And I'm not understanding what
Lori
John
says, none of it matters, though. We are the same.
Exactly.
Our spirits know no color, no gender, no bigotry, no hatred, etc., etc. Our spirits are the same. Literally, our consciousness is of one accord.
Exactly. And I'm not quite sure what you're trying to say, John. Fire, question mark, that burns in our hearts, question mark. That we have a passion in our hearts and a fire that drives us. Totally. Totally. We've been dumbed down, you know, by all these pharmaceutical, by the fluoride in our water, by the food that people are eating that are void of nutrients, you know, all these artificial lights, the TV sets that are emitting all these rays to make us dumb. But the human nature is, it's like that fire that you're talking about, you know, and they knew for the longest time that this was going to happen. So they've slowly taken the testosterone out of men, you know, and they've like changed women so that their wisdom isn't there and they become like men, more masculine and more into the fighting without the reasoning. So this whole thing that's happening is all planned.
Yeah.
Totally planned.
He says, John says, what is love? Spirit?
What is love? If you love is not something that you could put into words. It's something that you feel in your heart. It's something that drives you to be the better you that you could possibly be. When you love someone, you will move mountains for them. You will put them first before you. Spirit is what you have inside of you. Spirit is what drives you, is that essence, that spark. You know, that thing that gets you up every morning. That's why the majority of people nowadays have to take sleeping pills to go to sleep, and they have to take caffeine to wake up, because they have no spirit. They have no heart. It's been taken away from us, and we have to tap back into that.
Love is action. And Lori says, yes, Mark, absolutely. That's exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm.
They know their time was limited, and we would become aware.
Exactly. Love is action. Exactly. Blue Bottle Bunny Farm. So next thing is salvation.
Evolutionary forces are insufficient, however, to bring about spiritual freedom. Humans are caught up in a predicament consisting of physical existence, combined with the ignorance of their true origins, their essential nature, and their ultimate destiny.
To be liberated from this predicament, human beings require help, although they must also contribute their own efforts. From earliest times, messengers of light have come forth from the true God in order to assist humans in their quest for gnosis. And I believe that Jesus was one of those light beings, the messenger. Buddha, all the greats that have come down to try to like tell human, wake up, you know, that kind of thing, because we were like, you know, messengers from the true God, Okay, only a few of these salvific figures are mentioned in Gnostic scriptures. Some of the most important are Seth, the third son of Adam, Jesus, and the prophet Mani. The majority of Gnostics always look to Jesus as the principal savior figure, the Soter.
Gnostics do not look to salvation from sin, original or other, but rather from the ignorance of which sin is a consequence. Ignorance, whereby is meant ignorance of spiritual realities, is dispelled only by Gnosis, and the decisive revelation of Gnosis is brought by the messengers of light, especially by Christ, the Logos of the true God. It is not by his suffering and death, but by his life of teaching and his establishing of mysteries that Christ has performed his work of salvation.
So John says, our hearts, question mark, exclamation, like a promise, cannot be seen, but still can be broken. I'm a believer that someone could only hurt you or break your heart if you allow them to. If you give them that power, when you give somebody that power, you're making them God. Okay? We, as spiritual beings, need to learn how to create our armor, our wisdom, our gnosis, to understand that we can't live our lives based on this meat suit and our senses. When we live through our senses, yes, you can get hurt. But when you live through your spirit, no, you can't get hurt. If that explains, what I'm trying to say.
She Said at Home says, the most cruel tool used in breaking our hearts is the expectations we place on others, is what I feel.
Exactly, because we are putting some sort of expectation. We are desiring something. And when we desire something and we do not get it, then we suffer. That's why the Buddhist teaching is don't have any desires and you can't be hurt. You can't suffer, because we create our own suffering, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it your turn or my turn?
Your turn.
Gnostics do not look to salvation from sin, original or other, but rather from the ignorance of which sin is a consequence. Ignorance whereby is meant ignorance of spiritual reality is dispelled only by Gnosis, and the decisive revelation of Gnosis is brought by the messengers of light, especially by Christ, the Logos of the true God. It is not by his suffering and death, but by his life of teaching and his establishing of mysteries that Christ has performed his work of salvation. Key words there. His life of teaching and his establishing of mysteries that Christ has performed his work of salvation. It wasn't through his death, but it was through his teachings.
Right.
Because what did we learn from his death? How did we get free from his death? We learned from his teachings.
The Gnostic concept of salvation, like other Gnostic concepts, is a subtle one. On the one hand, Gnostic salvation may easily be mistaken for an unmediated individual experience, a sort of spiritual do-it-yourself project. Gnostics hold that the potential for gnosis, and thus of salvation, is present in every man and woman, and that salvation is not vicarious, but individual. And we just wanted to say goodbye to TT. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, TT. So John says, sin, question mark, falling short of the mark, perfection, even Jesus wept. Why? Perfection. What is perfection? I mean, that's something that I feel that human beings, and especially those driven by religion, strive for. As long as we are in this meat suit, we will never be perfect. As long as we're striving for something that's unattainable in the flesh, only through the spirit can we attain that. But we're not in spirit right now. We are in teaching right now. We are in some sort of school to learn, That's why we're here. Because if we don't get rid of all these baggages that we had carrying with us, we cannot transcend, we cannot ascend. And Jesus wept because he was in a physical body, and he wept because he saw that the things that he was trying to teach to people, they weren't learning. It's like, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Right.
So
those Gnostic concepts, at the same time, they also acknowledge that gnosis and salvation can be, and indeed must be, stimulated and facilitated in order to effectively arise within consciousness.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. This stimulation is supplied by messengers of light who, in addition to their teachings, establish salvific mysteries, sacraments, which can be administered by apostles of messengers and their successors.
You know, and that's what it's almost like we've been caught here, you know, and we're like in this engulfed state of a planet that's, what is it? I used to call this planet. It's like a, I used to give it a name.
A quarantine.
A quarantine.
Yeah.
And so we're here trying to get rid of all this stuff, and we can't get out because we're like in prison. So, you know, Heavenly Father, Source, sends, you know, messengers to try to help us get out of this, and like, hey, you need to do this to get out of here.
Yeah.
Hey, you need to do this. That's why, you know, Christ came to tell us something, but we were so locked up into the this, and it's not about this. The key to salvation, to open yourself up, is to go within, find that Christ within you. You know,
and then Christians have to like make this big deal out of the word sin, which is basically, you know, translated in its most basic form as like, say you have a target and you have a bow and arrow, and there's a bullseye you want to hit. Well, your arrow missed it. Even if it missed it by a hair and didn't get the bullseye, that's what sin is. It's called missing the mark.
Right.
And we all miss the mark. It's not evil to miss the mark.
Right.
Sin is not like, you know, some like brandished demonist.
No,
demonized
it's what we do in these bodies.
thing.
John, thank you. He says, thank you. That's all I needed to say today. Love you too, and all those that are here with us.
Tommy had some really good.
Walking in love is perfection. Yes,
That is the key.
You notice that when you're in that frequency of love, okay, everything. It's like, that's why when people start in a new relationship, you know, and you meet a girl or you meet a guy or whatever you fancy, and it's new, and you know, that you text each other and you call each other and you get the little butterflies, and the entire world. See, it's like, whoa.
It's like the sky's bluer and the
you have this
greener.
stud about yourself, and you're so happy, and nothing anybody can do could bring you down because you are in love. You know, once years pass by, feeling is not the same anymore. It's like, but as long as you keep that feeling alive, as we do, that feeling alive, you just like, hey, it's the most amazing and beautiful thing ever. Spirit's really growing a lot.
It is.
I'm like, I don't know. It's like No Shave November is December. I'm still like, you know, letting it grow.
And it's real.
And it's real. I've got more beard than my brother could ever grow.
Oh my God.
And I was born a girl. Go figure. Okay, so where were we? One needs to, is it here? One needs to also remember the knowledge of our true nature, as well as other associated realizations, are withheld from us by our very condition of earthly existence. The true God of transcendence is unknown in this world. In fact, he is often called the unknown Father. It is thus obvious that revelation from on high is needed to bring about salvation. The indwelling spark must be awakened from its terrestrial slumber by the saving knowledge that comes from without.
And conduct, if the words ethics or morality are taken to mean a system of rules, then Gnosticism is opposed to them both. Such systems usually originate with the demiurge and are covertly designed to serve his purposes. If, on the other hand, morality is said to consist of an inner integrity arising from the illumination of the indwelling spark, then the Gnostic will embrace this spirituality informed existential ethic as the ideal.
So Truth Seeker says, I love my Caribbean brothers and sisters and love you all as well. Thank you. We love you too. Cuba and Puerto Rico.
That's right.
Yes. Ricky Ricardo. To the Gnostic commandments and rules are not salvific or something.
Salvific.
Yeah, something like that. And they are not substantially conducive to salvation. Rules of conduct may serve numerous ends, including the structuring of an ordered and peaceful society and the maintenance of harmonious relations with social groups. Rules, however, are not relevant to salvation that is brought upon only by gnosis. Morality, therefore, needs to be viewed primarily in temporal and secular terms. It is ever subject to change and modifications in accordance with the spiritual development of the individual.
As noted in the discussion above, hyletic materialists have usually little interest in morality. while psychic disciplinarians often grant to it a great importance. In contrast, pneumatic spiritual persons are generally more concerned with other higher matters. Different historical periods also require variant attitudes regarding human conduct. Thus, both the Manichaean and Cathar Gnostic movements, which functioned in times where purity of conduct was regarded as an issue of high import, responded in kind.
And I lost my place.
The present period of Western culture perhaps resembles in more ways that of 2nd and 3rd century Alexandria.
And it seems, therefore, appropriate that Gnosis in our age adopt the attitudes of classical Alexandrian Gnosticism, where in matters of conduct were largely left to the insight of the individual. See how much more of this stuff.
That's a big old article.
Yeah, but you guys get the gist, you know.
The Gnostic, let's do a conclusion to this whole thing.
Yes, right here.
So some writers make a distinction between Gnosis and Gnosticism. Such distinctions are both helpful and misleading. Gnosis is undoubtedly an experience based not in concepts and precepts, but in the sensibility of the heart. Gnosticism, on the other hand, is a worldview based on the experience of gnosis. For this reason, in languages other than English, the word gnosis is often used to denote both the experience and the worldview. Die Gnosis in German or La Gnose in French.
In a sense, there is no gnosis without Gnosticism, for the experience of gnosis inevitably calls forth a worldview wherein it finds its place. The Gnostic worldview is experiential. It is based on a certain kind of spiritual experience of gnosis. Therefore, it will not do to omit or dilute various parts of the Gnostic world and their views, for were one to do this, the worldview would no longer conform to experience.
Gnosticism can bring us such truths with a high authority, for it speaks with the voice of the highest part of the human, the spirit. And of this spirit, it's been said, it bloweth where it listeth. This is the reason why Gnostic worldview could not be extirpated in spite of many centuries of persecution.
So the Gnostic worldview has always been timely, for it's always responded best to the knowledge of the heart. That is true gnosis. Yet today it is timeless and increasing, for the end of the second millennium has been the radical deterioration of many ideologies which evaded the great question and answer addressed by Gnosticism.
The clarity, the frankness, and the authenticity of the Gnostic answer to the questions of the human predicament can't fail to impress, and in time to convince. If your reactions to this summary have been of a similar positive order, then perhaps you yourself are a Gnostic.
So what do y'all think about Gnosticism here, Gnostic? The theory, those that are watching. Well,
everything after its kind, if you are. El Shaddai is a female noun. Abram worshipped the God of the breasts and womb, the God of the mountains, God Almighty's mother, his womb, his light, his arm, his fire. Look it up, please.
So yesterday we were talking about walk-ins when we had Derek with us, and that we believe that these walk-ins are actually coming into our bodies and changing the way we feel, we think, and how we do things. And we would love to hear from you if you guys feel that you've had a walk-in experience in your life. You either want to have, we can either get 2 or 3 people to maybe come to the show and talk about their experience and share that, or we could do it, open up the phones and do that in the phone manner. But right now we're going to
just talk a little bit about it, walk-ins and what it is all about. How do you feel about walk-ins?
One second. Truth Seeker says, I love there's no hierarchy in Gnosticism either. Yeah, that's very important. Very, very important. What do I feel? Well, I'm not sure if what happened to me when I died when I was 1 year old, that another spirit entered me. So I've always felt like I've had 2 spirits, that's why I consider myself 2-spirited. But then I think that you know, it's almost like a seed that gets planted and then it slowly starts to cultivate itself.
Yeah.
I believe some walk-ins happen later on in life, you know, and it's a very interesting subject altogether.
It is. There's not just one thing that happens, you know, there's walk-ins, walk-alongs.
Yeah, Derek, we had him yesterday on the show.
Yeah. It was awesome. He was great. It's on demand or whatever. You can't want to watch that. So walk-in souls are souls that choose to incarnate into an established body rather than a newborn infant. These souls take on the personality of a life already in existence.
A walk-in birthing happens when there is a contractual agreement between two souls to swap places. One soul exits from the human body and re-enters the spiritual realm.
And the second soul walks into the physical body and takes over the current life midstream. This transition can take place immediately, or sometimes the souls will share the body and walk along over a period of time.
And I believe that's what happened to me. I think I've had, you know, like these two souls that, you know, and then eventually the other soul kind of like pretty much departed. This allows the soul that wishes to depart to stick around for a short while to offer the new soul an introduction or cram session, if you will, about the life it is about to take over.
Known in Sanskrit as body change, quote unquote, and in the Hindu as bodhisattva, quote unquote, the American term for this swap in identity is walk-in or soul exchange. Spiritually
advanced souls are able to walk into an adult body rather than incarnating into the body of a baby through the birth process. By not having to go through the programming of childhood, a soul can get right to the business of carrying out a divine mission to help others as the earth shifts into higher dimensions.
So why does a soul swapping happen? Walk-in souls don't steal or kidnap another person's body. It's not a demonic possession like, you know, people would think. A walk-in happens when these two souls, they agree to swap places, making a soul contract.
The original soul makes a decision that it wants out of a life and contracts with another soul to continue the lifespan or life stream. The walk-in will reside in his body and continue living out of the personality that already has been established.
Reasons why a soul decides to depart from the physical and return to spirit can vary. When the soul has met or surpassed its purpose for incarnation into the body, it may choose a new experience elsewhere and chooses to exit the body.
It is not unusual for souls to renegotiate their soul contracts one or more times during the lifetime and continue living in that body. But in some cases, the soul wants out entirely and will offer the body along with its form personality to another soul to walk into.
Other times, the soul will choose to opt out because it feels the challenge of being human is too difficult and wishes to be released from the physical and reflect on its choices and reevaluate his life plan while residing in the spiritual realm. And, you know, I can connect with that because I too felt that same type thing. I felt like there was a spirit that I walked in that was of a duality, right?
Yeah.
But that I repressed that, or those natures repressed it. You know, one of them was repressed.
Right.
And there came a moment in my life where the person that I was decided that it was done. It couldn't do what it needed to do anymore. It had lost its purpose. So it felt like it was like on a shelf waiting to be picked up and taken, you know. And I can literally remember a time when, you know, that process happened. You know, it was almost like an out-of-body experience because, I mean, I didn't physically see it, but it like my physical body felt that, you know, happen. And some people would say, oh, it was demonic, you know, but what it was my other soul wanted out.
Right. And that's also very evident in like your taste of food, your taste of things. And there are still some remnants of memory, you know, programming that's in that body because it's like, it's been there for so long, you know, that you know, you can't fully take on the personality of the new walk-in. But, you know, I think as time progresses and as the walk-in starts to feel comfortable in those shoes, then, you know, the old ways, the old behavior, the old thought process kind of disappears, you know?
And that's, you know, they were asking us, you know, where we got this article from. And I haven't really, I kind of parsed it together from some of the different websites that I was able to glean some of this information from. But you know, there's a lot of information out there, and there's
even a Facebook group that's called Walk-ins, and you could join if you're interested. I mean, I think it's a closed group, but you request if you think you're a walk-in. And I think many of us, this day and age, because there's so many souls. I mean, we talked about that earlier. There's so many souls that have come together now in this time that we're living in, that, you know, there's not that many bodies to be able to fit. So what have they done? They've actually probably just taken residence in bodies that have two souls. There might be even two or three.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you think about people that they label, because the medical community loves to label diagnoses and diseases that have multi-personalities, or they have schizophrenia, or they have whatever, could it possibly be something within the spirit and not anything biological per se?
I mean,
these are things that, you know, but of course the medical community is not going to go, oh, it's a spiritual thing. No, they're going to label it. It's biological. Here, take these meds. You know, the same thing has happened with a transgender thing. It's like, oh, here, take these meds, cut this, add that, and it's like, no, that's not what we're meant to do.
Exactly. You know? So when does a soul exchange happen?
Well, when a soul decides to vacate the physical form, another soul may opt in and take up residence in that body. Both souls have to be in agreement for a swap to happen, so it can't be something forced. The exchange or transfer of souls will usually happen during a trauma in a personality's lifetime, such as an auto accident, major surgery, suicide attempt, episode of depression, or some other suffering.
I honestly think that these things also happen in increments. So, you know, it's almost like, you know, one thing happens, so then the body starts pulling, that spirit starts pulling away. Another thing happens. It pulls away even further. Another thing happens, and then it's like gone, you know, that kind of thing. Sometimes the soul will exit the body at the end stages of life, allowing another soul the opportunity to experience being in a coma or other pre-death experiences. This could account for some terminal patients not recognizing family members sitting vigil at their deathbeds.
Transient walk-ins. Sometimes a soul will rent out, quote unquote, its body to another soul for a short period of time, allowing itself a respite from human life. Transient souls will walk into a human body similar to professional house sitters. You know, the transient walk-in will play house with your family, friends, neighbors until the original soul returns.
Guest walk-in souls. Sometimes a soul will agree to walk in and reside in the body alongside the original soul as partners. This is much like opening up your home to a guest, having a roommate, or employing a live-in housekeeper.
The guest walks in, will agree to cohabitate the body for different reasons. A walk-in may come in as an observer, merely wanting to shadow your life. This may happen when the original soul is considering exiting the body permanently, but hasn't made up its final decision.
Or a guest walk-in will arrive to help out or support the original soul while he is recuperating from a trauma or facing a difficult challenge. Sometimes the original soul will serve as an interviewer or on-the-job trainer to teach the walk-in for a short period of time before he exits permanently. Many different scenarios can be played out when the two souls choose to co-inhabit one body/personality.
So Blue Bottle says this is really resonating. And like I said, I think there's a lot of people.
There's a lot.
That this is happening.
They don't even realize it.
Yeah. So until you actually, like when we started reading this, we're like,
wait a minute.
Whoa, you know, this sounds like
that's why I don't have a connection to my mother, and she doesn't really recognize me.
Yeah.
You know?
So do you think you could be a walk-in? Well, walk-in souls often struggle to identify with the personality that they're taking over. This is because they usually come in when the personality is emotionally damaged or the body has been harmed in some way.
Walk-in souls also have the responsibility to learn how to live among other souls. like who are the original soul's life mates, friends, family members, neighbors, co-workers, etc.
If you're feeling estranged from your own being or having difficulty relating to the people in your life, in theory, you could possibly be a walk-in. And I have felt that totally. You know, it's like, I can't even put it in words. It's like, sometimes it's like, I feel like my family is not my family, you know, and it's, you know, just things. I look back on my old life and I look at my life now, and it's like totally different. Like, you know, I wrote in my book that when I was having surgeries, I sent Maritza on her way, because they talk about when you're getting ready to have a surgery, you do some sort of event. And it's almost like I sent her on her way, thanked her, you know, for the time that she allowed, you know, that she was in my presence or whatever, living. And it's weird. It's hard to explain, because I mean,
it is,
you know,
it's difficult to wrap your brain around it, because it's not really a brain issue. It's
it's a spirit issue.
So if you try to like reason it out and analytically analyze it, it won't make any sense to you. But if you just let it resonate, like Blue Bottle Bunny Farm was saying, and she said it, saying as well. And it's like, you just sit with it, and it's like, wait a minute, you know, this makes sense. You know, I mean, one of the things that my heart breaks is my family and stuff, and there's a connection that I have to them, but there's like a sense of like not knowing these
being
people.
In another universe. You mentioned before,
I said like I was in like a parallel universe, like we're traveling and we're just like in different planes of existence, you know. And it really, you know, it's a very interesting thing to realize that potentially you could have had your body replaced its spirit, you know, the spirit within you got replaced, you know, and through trauma, through molestation, abuse. I mean, physically, a person like
wants to check out.
If they don't want to live anymore, okay, isn't there a way to commit suicide spiritually?
Yeah.
You know?
So Blue Bottle says, I can see that in you, Mark. I watched your detransition video, and I think you very well could be a walk-in. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's when I first read about this, it really resonated completely, you know. So here's our Trans Corner section for the day. This article is called Trans Corner, right? First it was kids with autism. Now it's Down syndrome. Trans cult targeting society's most vulnerable with LGBT indoctrination. So first it was children with autism. Now it's individuals with Down syndrome who are being shamelessly targeted and exploited by the cult of LGBT into parading themselves around on stage and so-called drag queens, and all in the name of modern art.
This gross perversion is reportedly taking place at a den of LGBT pride known as the Royal Vauxhall Tavern in London, where LGBT-themed voyeur shows have apparently been taking place since the 60s, when homosexuality wasn't even legal in the United Kingdom.
Believe it or not, there's now an entire subculture of perverts that enjoy watching men with Down syndrome cover themselves in makeup and dance around like WHOR, yes, I don't want to say that word, in front of a live audience, a type of live fetish pornography, and the deep state-owned mainstream media couldn't be happier and full of praise over this heinous sickness that they call beautiful, quote-unquote, display of art.
NBC News' Catherine Chapman, for instance, describes these Down syndrome drag queens as occupying a sacred spotlight whenever they dress up like caricatured females and perform for audiences engulfed in applause.
And this has been going on for a while now, where they go into the schools and they have a drag queen read story time with children. Is there anything more evil than preying on Down syndrome individuals with enhanced innocence? Advocates of this vile display of anti-dignity insist that it's all about the art, even before Down syndrome, before extra chromosomes, before disabilities, before anything. But is this what's actually true? Then why exploit Down syndrome people at all?
Keep in mind that Down syndrome people tend to be smarter, more empathetic, and more trusting than the average person, which means they're also more likely to interpret all forms of attention as being positive. They very likely don't fully understand what it is that they're even doing when they perform as drag queens, seeing as how a key characteristic of Down syndrome is cognitive delays.
On the other hand, some would argue that people with Down syndrome experience an enhanced existence of compared to other people, including in the realm of innocence.
Writing for Christianity Today, author Corey Latta, the father of a child with Down syndrome, explains how people with Down syndrome aren't stricken with the same shameful competence as everyone else, which manifests as enhanced trust, love, and an assumption of good as opposed to evil.
It is simplicity that comes from a lack of knowledge or understanding, resulting in a harmless, naive way that precludes an exercise of cunning, Latta writes, in beautiful simplicity about the average human experience beginning in childhood.
In the case of those with Down syndrome, innocence exists because of an absence of shameful competence. They're naive to the malevolence and immorality that the rest of us can't even transcend. So who's the one that is disabled here?
Exactly.
You know, you got to think about that.
It's pretty sad, but it's part of the little G plan, to pollute humanity, to just take them down to the lowest of low. When you have to, first it was the autistic kids, now it's like when you have to just it's just beyond words.
But they're just such beautiful, beautiful spirits.
They are.
They don't lack in not being able to recognize that evil. There's nothing wrong with them being free from that. I mean, we're the ones that are disabled.
I know. So Truth Seeker says, I thought forcing homeless people to fight for a few bucks to sell vids was evil. I hear you. And Mickey says, Aspies are like that too. Targets for sure. Totally. That's why they're able to, yeah, totally. So here we go. Latta goes on to highlight key facts about people with Down syndrome that further illustrates just how evil the cult of LGBT is for preying on these sweet and precious individuals. Since their understanding of evil is largely muted, accompanied by enhanced affection for an acceptance of whatever comes their way, people with Down syndromes are easily targeted by LGBT filth that wants to corrupt, destroy, and exploit them for their own personal gain.
The longer I looked along the beam of my experience with Down syndrome, the more I realized that my propensity for sin was enhanced by an intellect, cunning, and premeditation, wonderfully absent in my brothers and sisters who have it, Latta says.
People with Down syndrome neither understand nor practice malice, greed, jealousy, or deception in the way others do. They speak out of an unmasked honesty. They love without pretensions and self-protective impairment that taint our relationships. And that Aspies do that too. We don't know how to read body language. We don't know how to, it's like we're like little kids sometimes that open mouth, insert foot.
Sarcasm doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like when people are being sarcastic, I'm like, what are they doing?
It's like,
yeah.
So you didn't mean what you just said? I mean,
yeah, definitely.
Say what you mean what you say with Aspies, for sure.
Exactly. So, do you guys have any question in what we have been discussing thus far before we go into our end of our show prayers? People that have contacted us and want to pray for them. So any questions, concerns, comments? Forever hold your peace.
For tonight.
For tonight anyway. Okay, so we got an email. Their name is Mystery, and they were here in the chat room earlier. I think you both are just wonderful, and I wish you both much love and happiness. The point of my email is my brother, well, sister. She was born my brother, but is a transgender woman. Our relationship since my mom's death has not been good. I have had a hard time sometimes trying to remember to call her her, and I don't mean to. I love her and accept her for who she is.
Mystery's here with us tonight.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Okay.
But because I'm a pothead, I'll sometimes slip up and call her Eric. But I correct myself. I think she thinks I don't accept her because of this. My father has had the same. He doesn't understand, but loves her and accepts it. And she's cut him out of her life completely because of this.
And it breaks my heart because this would kill our mother, God rest her soul. I was wondering if y'all could give me some advice on what I should do. Should I try to help fix their relationship? My father wants one, but she won't talk to him. She just started coming around and talking to me again via Facebook.
But I have not seen her in a year. I mean, I don't mean to hurt her, nor did my father mean to. Any advice, and maybe a prayer for us that my family will start talking again, at least. Thanks, y'all. Much love and blessings to you both. Mystery.
Yes. Mystery, one of the things that has put me off from the transgender community is the self-centered characteristic that this disorder brings upon those that are transgender. They think the world revolves around them. When they transition, they forget that they're not just transitioning themselves, but the rest of the family is being put through something that they didn't bargain for. Your dad didn't bargain for this. You didn't bargain for this. You know, no one bargains for this. But they are so tunnel vision. You know, call it the Asperger, call it whatever it is that kind of like derails this train. They can't see beyond themselves. So I want you to know this. Nothing you have done is wrong. You are not to blame. Your brother / sister will eventually, because eventually there's an aha moment, you know, when they stop being so self-centered, when they get tired of dealing with this self-obsession, they will come to and they will realize how horrible they were. I was the same way when I first started back in 2003. I was like, how dare anybody question me? How come you're not seeing me as the man that I want you to see me as? But through the years, that changes. And you start to realize, who am I kidding? Why did I put my family through this? And you start to see things differently.
It's absolutely true. I mean, I think that there's a really a disservice done to those who are family members of those who transition, and the things that these people that, you know, get all the accolades, get all the attention, you know, the trans community embraces them and tells them to just embrace themselves and live their life and be happy, right? And then their families are left like in the dust, like totally like with mud in their faces and their hands, and they're like, wait a minute, where did my brother go? Where's Eric?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you do not have to feel that guilt. It's not yours. It's not your fault. You did nothing wrong. They are the ones that are absolutely monopolizing and manipulating you and making you do something that instinctually you just don't have in you. I mean, yes, the kind recognition or whatever it is for their own satiety of their own, you know, will, you know, is something that they enjoy. But, you know, as time progresses, you're just going to end up, you know, they're going to end up realizing that they really, really hurt people.
My advice
You know.
to you, Mystery, is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, mystery.
Just love them. You know, love them. Don't kick yourself in the rear if you misgender, confuse their name with the name, not confuse the name, call them by the name that your mom and dad gave them, but just continue to tell them or her how much you love them, you know, and that to plead with them to have patience with you, but that you love them. Eventually, I promise you that Eric's heart will change and they'll like look at life differently. But all you can do is love. You don't have to fall for what they want, because that would mean that you have to give in to your beliefs and your thoughts and what you know biology is, you know, because this whole trans agenda thing is about, you know, they just want to turn the world upside down. It's not enough about them living their life. They want everyone to validate them. It's like a bratty kid that wants their way. Well, unfortunately, they can't get their way. So just love, because that's all you can do. Pray and love and hope that one day they'll come around and they'll realize that what they've done is alienated everyone just to allow themselves to live in the life that they want. And
yeah, I mean, your loved one is really missing out on, being able to be in your dad's life. Your dad is being hurt by this person, and that's just not right. I mean, and I understand. I know what it's like because I did the same thing, and I just my heart goes out to you because it's not those that are in the wake of someone's transition that are at fault here. It is the person that, if they really want to be kind and gentle and loving, that they would be patient, that they would be humble, that if this truly is a transition or something, whatever they want to call it, that why wouldn't it be more gracious? Why wouldn't it be something that, that everybody could,
grow together
and
not be forced.
And love,
It's,
But,
so
trans people are so selfish.
Yeah, they are. We're going to pray for you, but we're also going to another viewer added. Name is Anna, and she said, "This is amazing. I had watched one of your videos against Derek Bros last week, and now this. All I can say is, wow, what great spirit can do. But you got to have an open mind to get out of the box and see it."
My husband is against me for believing this way, and he tells me that the devil has a hold on me. And I told him that's exactly what the Pharisees said to Jesus. He has just made a decision a couple months ago to follow the laws of Jehovah. And I think that it makes it so much harder for him to see this. Please pray for him. His name is Harvey.
So we're going to go ahead and pray for you, Mystery, and pray for Harvey and his wife. Go ahead and
yeah. Is there anything else that anybody wants to get some prayer about? I mean, James is in here. His wife has anorexia nervosa. And,
yes, we prayed for him.
And we prayed for him
the other day.
But I'm just saying, that there are needs that people have.
And if you all join us within prayer, because prayer in numbers, is an amazing thing, because that's how Abba listens to us. It's almost like we get a powerful connection when there's more of us praying.
You're welcome, James. I tell my daughter, if you want to be a boy, Tracy says, then be the best boy you can be and live your life and do it with class, but don't push the agenda down my throat.
Exactly. And that's what rubs me the wrong way, this trans advocates. And tomorrow, no, not tomorrow, but tomorrow we have Mickey. But I have this article that I found, tremendous article, that talks about that, how they try to lie to people and talk about the suicide and all this stuff. And it's all propaganda, total propaganda.
It is. Well, Heavenly Father, here we are again as a family. And I just thank you for bringing us all together here tonight. Everyone has a purpose for being here. Everybody has a purpose for hearing these things. And God, I just pray that we were able to share something that would help and encourage and edify and build up and just give people the tools that they need to live their lives to the fullest, to be able to have that Christ consciousness awaken within them and allow them to understand that you're bigger than a man, you're bigger than one Jewish carpenter. You're all in all, and you're in everything. And God, we just come before you now with Mystery's request here. She has a brother, born brother, and this brother is a transgender woman. And we just pray that you would just give Mystery the wisdom, the patience, and the understanding to do the right thing, and not to be forced to do what she doesn't want to do, but to do what you want her to do, to be real with her brother, to be real and to be loving and to be gentle, compassionate. But in that, God, we just pray that this trans person would actually be willing to meet her halfway, that they would be willing to concede some ground here, God, because everything isn't in accordance to what a trans person wants. There are other people involved. There are other people that are living this life as well and are affected by the decisions of her brother. So God, we just ask you to give this trans woman patience to understand and the compassion to be loving to her, to the sibling. You know, it's so important, God. And we just thank you that you in your time will open these things up and allow them to understand that sex change is not even possible. It's not even something that is feasible for the human body. And, you know, with all the walk-in concept and everything where we could have soul exchanges and everything, it doesn't change the fact that the physical temple that we have is still going to be one sex and that it will never change. And anything we do to change it will actually hurt us, and it potentially could hurt us spiritually. So, God, I just pray that you would just give everyone patience and grant this person the ability to see beyond themselves. In Jesus' name.
Yes, and Father, we want to also have you work on Eric's heart to let the Father back into his life. You realize that it's all about love. Forget what the outside is showing. Forget what this person is feeling about being born in the wrong body. Let them understand that it's about love, and family is so important, God. Don't let that family break apart because of some gender confusion. And Father, we also want to pray for Harvey, that Harvey doesn't continue to think that his wife is being part of some devil, some demon, some different type of belief, because now he is so gone home with this new religion. Let them communicate as a couple, Father, the way you meant them to communicate in the first place, as a loving couple. Bring them together, Father, in your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, everybody.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, you guys, for joining us and giving us the time. You know, I know you guys have other things that you could be doing right now.
We appreciate you.
We totally appreciate everything. You're very welcome.
Yes.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And remember, guys, if you have any prayer requests, if you want to be on the show, if you want to call in during the show, email us at transitionradioshow@gmail.com. If you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like and the little bell so when we come on live, we'll be making more videos. Actually, we made a cooking video today.
We did. We did a little cooking video.
So
people asking about what we eat and stuff for our 1 meal a day. I put together a quick little video. It's about 25 minutes long, but it was good. And it was yummy.
Yeah, it was.
And we didn't realize how much we put in our food.
I know, because we only eat 1 meal a day, so it's like it's a project, literally. But we put up a video and sharing with you guys what we eat. And
you watched it, Curious Explorer?
Yeah.
You saw it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome, Renee.
Cool.
Yeah,
Renee's a vegan.
That's awesome.
It was
yummy. Very filling. I mean, it's like, because there's a lot of food, so you're sitting there, it's like it takes an hour to make and an hour to eat. And by the time you're done, you're like, oh my God. But you know, it's the only meal, so it's kind of like you have to top yourself up so that it lasts throughout until the next day. It's 23 hours fasting, 1 hour eating. So
I got up to you smelling the melon, but then y'all went live. So go on.
Melon's good. It smelled really, really good.
Yeah, it was really good. That melon is really good.
Really good.
So it's gonna last us for a while.
Yeah, because we eat a little bit.
Eat a lot.
It's like if you noticed, it's like little bits of everything, so you can get all that nutrition because it's the one meal. So we're looking at probably like 1,500 calories, if not more, of different things that your body needs. Because when you're vegan, you need to really eat a variation of things. That's why vegans get into trouble, because they don't eat all the nutrients that they need. So, but as long as you're putting all the stuff in there that your body requires, then you're good to go. You know.
Yes, keep the cooking videos coming. Yeah, it was. I want to make a better one because I did everything like first person perspective,
Yeah, no.
but just want to show how we make stuff.
And we pretty much eat around the same thing. Not the same thing, but pretty much it's always the base.
Yeah.
The green salad with all the, all the veggies and all that stuff. And then we'll either make pasta or we'll make rice with lentils or beans or, temp, tofu, different things like that. So you got that big bed of greens and then you put stuff on top. And then I'll always make either some sort of dressing. Like today it was hummus.
Yeah.
Pour that on top.
It was so good.
It's really, really
hummus.
Good. And then of course the oatmeal, that's like,
it's dessert.
Dessert for us.
It's like candy.
Yeah. And then,
hey guys, can I get a live reaction to my new song, please?
What do you mean by a live reaction to your new song?
I don't know how I could get your new song to hear it. I don't know.
Put the link on here and
Lyndon Mark, thank you. Feeling body and spirit. Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Feeding body and spirit. Cool.
Yes, totally. So
yeah,
anyway,
we're not hungry at all.
No,
we're
not
done
at all.
and we ate hours ago.
Yeah. And it's like you're not hungry. We work out on an empty stomach because that creates more growth hormone, keep you young. It creates autophagy, which allows your body to eat up cancer cells and anything that's wrong with your body. You'll heal faster. And we don't get hungry. The first couple of weeks, if you're used to eating 3 meals a day, it's all up here. Your stomach, when it gets empty, it growls, but that's not physical hunger. That's just your body your stomach being empty. True hunger doesn't really happen until you haven't eaten for 3 or 4 days, where your cells are being deprived of nutrients. So once you teach your stomach to quiet down, and it's not like the little baby in the room, then you're fine. It takes a couple of weeks though.
Well, Joe Hooper says, would you two please try to explain, LOL, how y'all went from bashing Global Witness to just tripping over yourself kissing his feet?
I think we've talked about that in other videos that we have
Well, I don't think we're tripping over ourselves kissing his feet, but I will liken it to this. People make mistakes.
Yeah.
People make honest mistakes. And with regards to Derek, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
Because what happened with him, and I'm going to say it's something that I wrestle with personally. And Mark and I, before we got back together, we broke up, and it was earlier this year. And it was because of misconceptions.
Yeah.
Misappropriated emotional, accusation, these things that one makes, which are called assumptions.
Exactly.
Which are not good.
Exactly.
So in our assumptions, again, we jump to conclusions, and then we think that we know what the truth is.
And Joe's coming in a very dark energy here that he's calling people sheep, and I really don't appreciate, the attitude. You come in here with an open heart, we'll be more than glad to answer your question, but don't come in here with an attitude, because I won't put up with it. I am as honest and as whatever, but don't push buttons that don't need to be pushed, because there's no need. If you really want to know, watch the videos.
Yeah, you can watch the videos. We don't kiss Derek's butt or anything. Derek and us and Derek, we have an understanding. Maybe we don't agree with every single thing, but honestly, at this point, I don't think there's anything that we don't disagree with.
And prior to all this, because Lena was raised Christian, I have
to fight it.
I've always been Gnostic. From the time that I told my grandmother I wasn't doing the Jehovah's Witness thing anymore at the age of 12, I became into reading tarot cards and knowing everything about the occult. And I became very good at it. And that's my background. So that's one of the reasons we started listening to Derek in the first place, because it rang true, very true with everything that I've studied, that I've learned, that I've been, raised with. So
Mystery says it's all about love, Joe, not hate.
Exactly. Well, because Joe's heart is a bit bitter, and brother, we're sending love your way and hope that bitterness melts away, and you realize that you don't have to be sarcastic or cynical. You really don't.
And for people like us who are Aspies, you don't really understand sarcasm.
Exactly.
It's really kind of foreign. The more spiritual I became, Renee says, the more I couldn't eat animals.
Exactly.
Christ changes you.
It does. And I think I was born vegan pretty much because I remember when they were trying to feed me meat, I couldn't swallow it, so I would chew it and give it to the dog. And my father would not allow me to get up from the table till I would finish eating all this stuff, and I never liked it. I always felt wrong, you know, from the time I was little.
So Blue Bottle Bunny Farm said, yeah, I made a mistake yesterday, and I had an opportunity to not make the same mistake today. It feels really good.
Awesome. That's growth.
Little victory.
Yes. And every day, more and more victories will be accomplished. Curious Explorer says, I've made lots of mistakes, but thank God for his mercy and grace. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Amen.
And if we've been given mercy and grace, we should give mercy and grace
to everyone.
You know, not because if we don't, we're going to hell for it, but because we love, because we can. Okay, it's not because of hell. It's not because of like, oh, you're doing the wrong thing, and if you do it, you're going to be punished for it, so you can't do it. No, we do it because we're good people.
Exactly.
We do it because we have a heart that wants to be good and loving.
And so, Mr. Bojangles says he lost 65 pounds since I've been listening to Derek. Awesome.
To Derek, yeah. Oh, wow, that's great. That's
it's
great.
Called forgiveness, says Renee. And James says, I see it like walking through doors into dark rooms. I ask the Father to lead me, and it's always new and hard to walk through it. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, it's like walking in the dark and knowing things are there, but naming them wrong. You guys don't know how close you are on the tail. Turn it upside down. Do it with.
And Curious, she said something. Huh? Bring it down. And she says, you two have pure hearts. Thank you, Curious.
Yeah,
Explorer.
Thank you.
So what does this ask? You guys don't know how close you are on the tail. Turn it upside down. Close to what tail?
Turn it upside down. Do it with. I don't
know.
None of us were born all-knowing. We're all here to learn, I hope.
Exactly. That's why we're here on this planet of that I call a quarantine planet.
Oh, turn it upside down. Things are inverted. You will dream. You will be given a message. I just ask for you to please listen for the whisper.
And the whisper is
you know, if that confirms with us, then yeah, we'll totally see that this was a prophecy. Ask Lucid.
Yeah. Yes, boom. Above all, love. That's all that matters.
Love is the answer.
It's the total answer. If anything else failed, love.
Our haters would say love is not something that should be like looked at as the most important thing, but the greatest of these
is love.
The greatest.
Love. I mean, really, love, hate. What feels better? You know? I mean, I think it's a no-brainer, pretty much, you know?
I am deleting all of it, sweethearts. Okay. There's people you know, it's like they write stuff and then they get rid of it.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Say your piece.
Yeah.
And leave it there.
Yeah.
You know,
whoever wants to read it, forever, if not where you meant to say it.
Yeah.
You know? That's pretty much. It's like, you know, we all are walking on this path of uncertainty, a path that we don't know what the future holds, but all we can do is be in that consciousness of Christ and reach for our Father, the true Father. Realize that these suits that we wear is only going to guide us in the wrong path. But when we stop thinking of ourselves as humans and start looking at ourselves more as spirits and think, what would my spirit do versus what would my body do? I think you will make better choices and you will feel better about yourself.
Yeah. Well, if it was meant for us personally and not the masses, you can send it to our Gmail account at transitionradioshow@gmail.com, and you know.
Okay, but I'm really seeing here. You will dream. You will be given a message. I just ask for you to please listen to the whisper. I've been listening to my whisper for a very long time, and my whisper has always guided me to the Gnostic teaching, to the teaching of the unknown, to keep me very far, far away from the church. And if that's what you're trying to elude,
no, I mean, just if they want to write, they can write, let us know, and if it resonates with you, it resonates. But let's not.
No, I'm not judging it. All I'm saying is, right here, mercy and great. Wait, where is said that. She said something here. You guys don't know how close you are on the tail.
I don't know, babe, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth criticizing.
I'm not
or
criticizing it. I'm just kind of seeing
Just
where,
let them write,
Yeah.
and if it resonates, it resonates. If
Yeah.
it doesn't, it doesn't. You know,
Right.
take
I'm
the
just-
good and dump the bad.
I'm just leery, you know.
Oh, I know. We all are. Uncertainty, yes.
Yes.
Amen. Jealousy hurts.
Yes.
Hate hurts.
Of course. Of course.
But it also heals if you let it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's all for tonight. We're gonna
Yes, Mark, beautiful, exactly. Yeah, they see it too. They see
Yeah.
it too. I mean, it's, you know, I'm very empathic, and words in itself, I know when somebody's coming from what path and when they're not. And there's like, I have a little alarm that tells me danger, danger, you know.
powerless where I am now and persecuted. I trust the Father. Amen.
That's it. Thank
See,
you.
nothing bad, guys. It's just from a higher place than most can comprehend. So, but
All right. So we're going to end with a song I wrote. God, I wrote this song forever ago. Have you guys heard of Carlton Pearson, Bishop Pearson? He got kicked out of the church. He was
Yeah,
like a really prominent guy.
because he said that hell didn't exist.
Exactly. Or that hell was here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he saw the starving
The homeless
children
people,
and
the sick,
some
dying
starving
Ethiopians.
Yeah. And so all of a sudden he got a revelation. Oh my God, hell is here. You know, you don't have to go anywhere. You're living it, you know? And so they kicked him out. So I wrote this song called Father Help Us. I don't know how great it's going to sound. This was back in 2007. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Yes, Mickey, excited to have you tomorrow. Enjoy another light matter, just a matter of light. Thanks to be able to for sharing. Thank you.
I think you're on the trail, not tail.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
You're on the trail.
Anyway, we will leave you with a song called Father Help Us. Guys, we love you.
God loves you.
Totally loves you. But the most important that people are failing to do on a daily basis is to remember to always love yourselves too. Hasta mañana, baby. Tomorrow with Mickey.
Tomorrow with Mickey.
Yes. And here we go. Let's see how we make this stuff work. Okay. Boom.
You held the book inside your hand. You claim his words are where you stand. Yet all I heard were recommends this loving man must take a stand to bring the truth upon this man. Father, help us, please explain that your son didn't die in vain, that there is no hell for us to face. Only hell is here on earth, that it will get any worse, and they are damaging your words. Father, help us. Father, help us, please explain that your son didn't die in vain, that there is no hell for us to face. The only hell is here on earth, that it won't get any worse. They are damaging your words. Father, help us. See the children of the world. What have they done to deserve this curse? How can they be so cruel and blind? These so-called Christians of our times, they're leaving everyone behind. Father, save us. Father, help us. Please explain that your son didn't die in vain, that there is no hell for us to face. The only hell is here on earth, that it won't get any worse, and they are damaging your words. Father, help us. Reclaim your kingdom for while sending all of us to hell. How can they be so filled with hate? Your words are clear, yet they dictate and keep on making the mistakes. Separate us. Father, help us, please explain that your son didn't die in vain, that there is no hell for us in vain. The only hell is here on earth, that it won't get any worse. They are damaging the world. Father, help us. We haven't spoken for a while. Yeah, most of us can hear you now. I feel your touch, your loving breath. You're telling me to tell the rest. Heaven's waiting for us now. Father, help us. Father, help us. Please explain that your son didn't die in vain, that there is no hell for us to obey. Oh, the only hell is here on earth, that it will get any worse. They are damaging your work. Father, help us, please. Oh, please. Help us from the one thing I love you. Help us, Father. Father, help us, please explain that your son didn't die in vain, that there is no help for us in vain. Oh, the only hell that's here on earth, that it won't get any worse.